So here I am, retired after a year and a month, and I'm sitting with a beautiful sunset in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona, and things have gone very, very well. I wanted to talk today about 5 things that I did that aided me in making my decision to retire early. And the first one was retiring early to me meant starting to collect Social Security at 62. So the first thing I did was looked up Social Security rules. In addition to looking up, I set up an online account with the Social Security Administration. It would show me how much money I would be getting on a monthly basis should I choose to retire at 62. Also, there were a variety of resources available that would tell me about 2 pretty important things. One, is Social Security taxable? And the answer is yes, depending on what additional income that you may have and what the amount of that income of Social Security can be taxable. Up to 85% of it can be taxable. The other question is the system's design, they don't really want you to work after you start collecting Social Security, but they do allow a certain amount of earned income. And that changes slightly every year. I believe it was around between $18,000 and $19,000 per year when I retired. And this year, in 2023, it's about $20,000 a year. What that means is that if you go over that threshold in part-time earnings, then they're going to start withholding benefits from you. You'll get it down the road at full retirement age, but it will affect your income pretty swiftly. Especially there are stories of people that don't report it, and suddenly they'll get benefits withheld for many, many months to get even. So if you do happen to go over, you report it to them immediately. They make the appropriate adjustments immediately. So the second thing was looking at what is it going to cost me to live on a monthly basis. And way back when I got an accounting degree, I'm pretty good with an Excel spreadsheet. I set a detailed one up fairly early on, and I worked and tweaked on that thing constantly for probably a whole year before I retired. And I was very conservative, and I didn't want to be caught in retirement with less income that I would need to be comfortable. So I was very careful about doing that spreadsheet, and I'm pretty happy with it. I was conservative enough, so my reality is I'm spending far less than I anticipated. So item 3 was an escape plan. I wanted a plan in case things really didn't work out the way that I thought. I'm in full-time RVer. I live on the road in my trailer, and what if things that I believed about that lifestyle aren't true, and I needed to live in a sticks and bricks and go back and get a job? Well, as it turns out, there's a grace period for you can reverse your Social Security decision. And it was a good several months between my application for Social Security and the production of the first check. And my employer had, when you retire or when you resign under good terms, you can change your mind in the next 12 months. So I had an open invitation to come back and work for my employer like nothing had happened. So that was my escape plan, and your escape plan may look very different, but it gives you peace of mind to know that, hey, if things don't work out the way I think they're going to work out, I've got a plan to fall back on, so I feel safe. The topic of health insurance. Health insurance is very important, especially like me. I was 61 years old when I retired. And although I didn't have any chronic health issues tend to this is the time in life where these things tend to crop up. So in my case, my income was low enough so I qualified for a very healthy subsidy under the Affordable Care Act. So that's how I get my health insurance. It worked out great. Fifth and the last thing that I did was what I call test runs. And what I mean by that is that, number one, I was planning on retiring in a 21-foot bumper pull travel trailer. It's a small space. And what if I got out and within a month I decided I was very uncomfortable in that small space? That would be a pretty quick disaster. So what I did was I made arrangements in almost the last 3 years of my full-time living. I was living in a trailer in a modular home park that had a half a dozen sites that they reserve for RV people. And I got one of those sites, and I found, I actually moved there from a luxury high-rise apartment in Tyson's Corner in Northern Virginia. And I found I was far more comfortable in my little trailer. And so that test run was absolutely successful. And the other one was, am I going to be comfortable, not being able to plug in, living out in national forest land, and in particular in the desert in the winter? So I, 2 vacations, I took 2 to 3 weeks apiece. Big vacations where I went out. One vacation came out here to Arizona, and I stayed in the desert with no hookups, and I used my solar panels and batteries. And then I spent a similar amount of time in Florida, and I found that I really loved doing that. So that was my second kind of test run. And those are the 5 things that I did to make a decision to retire early. And I retired December 1st, 2021, and we're in the end of the first week in February in 2023, and I am very happy with my decisions. If any of you have any questions about it, please put them in the comments, and I will answer them as best I can. Y'all take care.